Part 85, we have a clear love and hate, but plot something about each other. At Nian's house, Xuan Huaifeng was very popular. Although Xuan Dian hated her younger brother for leaving his sister behind for so many days, she was really happy when she saw him, and scolded with a smile, "I thought you forgot how you got here. Why are you free today, willing to a face-to-face visit? Aren't you afraid of being scolded by me? Women who are about to give birth are always more anxious than ordinary people. So I accidentally scolded you in a while, but you run away in a hurry." Zhang Ma smiled on her face wrinkle turned into a flower and said, "Miss, you are too." When he was gone, you thought to yourself, now that he is here, before he sits down and drink a cup of tea, you say you want to scold people. No wonder the young master dare not come to see you. Xuan Dian said. What do you know? He's abominable. Last time he finally came, I understand that I told him to stay late and leave if he doesn't want to. He'd be better. He took advantage of my nap and hurriedly left, didn't even say hello. Let's go. Can I eat people? Xuan Huaifeng felt a little uncomfortable these days, like a lump of rotten cotton wool stuck in it. Now listening to his sister's words is still so pleasant and refreshing, but he feels kind and comfortable. He hated himself for not coming earlier, and said with a smile, "It's really not intentional, that day happened to have an important official business." Before he said a word, Xuan Dian put her hand in the air for a while, not allowing him to say any more. Saying, "I don't want to hear these excuses. It's official business if you keep your mouth shut. Now you have also learned from your brother-in-law's bad example and used these official words to prevaricate me." Xuan Huaifeng remembered the last time he saw Nian Liangfu and that young woman in Chunxiang Park. He went out to persuade her for a couple of words. He wondered if Nian Liangfu would listen to her. After thinking for a moment, he asked leisurely, "Is my brother-in-law still busy lately? Today is the weekend, and he is not at home?" Xuan Dian said, "I'm here. He's always said that he's too busy with official business recently and he's tired. I saw that his face was really bad today, so I advised him not to go out and go crazy again. It's better to go back to bed and rest. Hey, he's lying there right now. Otherwise, I'll call him up and talk to you." Xuan Huaifeng said, "Let brother-in-law lie down, why bother making him quarrel? For the sake of sister's mood, of course." The matter of being Nian Liangfu and women outside is naturally not mentioned at all. Because he wanted to sit down and chat, Xuan Dian said that the weather is good today. So don't be bored in the house, and ask the little girl to bring 2 rattan chairs, and to sit with Xuan Huaifeng in the yard. Just as Xuan Huaifeng was about to sit down, Xuan Dian seemed to remember something, and said with a smile, "Don't sit down yet. There is something, you just happened to help me with it." Xuan Huaifeng asked, "What is it?" Xuan Dian pointed to the flower bed surrounded by pebbles to the east, and said, "Those geraniums, please adjust and loosen the soil. It's August, and the roots of this flower need to be carefully ventilated. Usually, it's me. I can do it myself. And now I can't bend down." Zhang Ma was making a fragrant tea and came over when she happened to hear it, and interjected, "Whoever can't make the flower, it's just a servant. The young master rarely comes back, but you asked him to do this dirty work." Xuan Dian said, "What do you know? The flower roots are delicate. If you don't understand the difference, you know how to fool around, but you die at the mercy of them. The peony I planted last year was not just because of the old age that lost 3 plants. During the Chinese New Year, your uncle got drunk, played crazy with alcohol, and smashed a pot for me again. I'm really mad at him." Zhang Ma said, "I don't understand, I'll call, the gardener is here." Xuan Huaifeng said, "Don't bother, I can't do anything else. It's okay to loosen the soil for the flowers. I just need to find a handy tool. Zhang Mama quickly found a small one that gardeners often use. Here comes the shovel. Xuan Huaifeng took it, crouched beside the flower bed, and loosened the soil meticulously. When his mother was alive, she was also a lover of flowers. She planted a lot of seasonal flowers in the Zhan family's old house, and in spring and summer, they bloomed especially gratifyingly. Mrs. Zhan passed away early. Although Commander Zhan was a savage warlord, he was really fond of this lady who was born as a lady. Even the flowers and plants she planted in the past were kept and asked the craftsmen to take care of them. The Zhan brother and sister knew that it was left by their mother, so they naturally loved it very much. Xuan Huaifeng loosened the soil. Thinking that the geraniums should be careful to burn the leaves in this month, so he went to find a few long poles, inserted them in the soil, and set up a small shading shelf to protect his sister's species of geraniums. This came over. There was a lot of mud on both hands, so they held them up in the air and looked around. Zhang Mama knew that he was going to find water to wash his hands, so she hurriedly said, "Little young master, come here." Because Nian Liangfu was asleep in the room and didn't want to disturb him. She led Xuan Huaifeng into a small wing in the west, using copper basin, held a basin of water, placed it on the wooden shelf, and said, "I see that you are sweating too. Wipe your face while you are free." She asked for a towel for Xuan Huaifeng. Looking around, there is only a half-worn towel hanging on the counter in this small wing. Zhang Mama would not let the young master use such dirty things, so she hurried to the next room to find a clean towel. Xuan Huaifeng stretched out his hand into the copper basin, just about to touch the surface of the water, when he suddenly caught a glimpse of the newly presented gold watch by Bai Xuelan on his wrist, thinking, "Don't get wet." Twisting two fingers that were not stained with mud, he first carefully untied the gold watch and placed it on the edge of the wooden shelf. Only then did he reach into the copper basin. Cool, refreshing and pleasant. Zhang Mama came back with a clean white towel. Xuan Huaifeng took it and put it in the copper basin naturally. Zhang Mama hurriedly stopped him and said, "No, no. This water is dirty. How can you wash the towel? Wipe your face? I'll make another bowl." Xuan Huaifeng said, "It's so troublesome. I knew I had to go to the water pipe to wash myself. I want you to carry it around like this. My brother-in-law spent so much money on new furniture. In fact, it is better to spend some money to lay a water pipe. And it is convenient to use water at home." Zhang Mama said, "No wonder, those foreign things are good, but these are troublesome to install. There is a faucet in front which can be used." "That's good. Isn't it just 2 or 3 more steps?" Suddenly, Xuan Dian was heard calling from outside, "Huaifeng! Huaifeng! Come out quickly." Xuan Huaifeng looked from the window and saw that Xuan Dian, who was sitting on a rattan chair in the yard, didn't know what happened. She stood up with a big chubby belly. Her brows furrowed, and she was calling him in the direction of the wing. Xuan Huaifeng was taken aback, lest she might feel uncomfortable. So, he hurriedly ran out and asked nervously, "What's wrong? Is it a stomachache? Sit down quickly and be careful when you fall. I'll call the doctor right now." Xuan Dian said, "What is the doctor's name? I don't feel any pain. Look at what's written in this newspaper." She handed the newspaper to Xuan Huaifeng. Seeing her being so solemn, Xuan Huaifeng thought subconsciously, could it be that something bad about Bai Xuelan was published in the newspaper again? Immediately, there was a trace of anger. These newspapers are so disgusting. Bai Xuelan has done so many real things for the country, and no one praises it. While suppressing a few profiteers on the dock, those reporters kept staring at them. No reason. Xuan Huaifeng scolded inwardly, took the newspaper, unfolded it, and was stunned. It turned out that it was not a social newspaper that he and Bai Xuelan often read, but it was a piece of paper dedicated to Li Yuan actresses, called Hong Ling Kuait Wen of the tabloids. This kind of tabloid is often read by ladies and gentlemen who love to play and listen to dramas. Unexpectedly, Xuan Dian also ordered one. Xuan Dian was very concerned, stretched out her neck, pointed to a place above it, and said, "Here." The headline was very eye-catching and it was read. It was obviously a major news in this tabloid. Celebrity actor Bai Xuelan suffered from pneumonia and was hospitalized in critical condition. I don't know which arrogant old pedant wrote it. It was brilliantly written. It first laid out the brilliance of Bai Xuelan's stage, and then changed the tone of the pen, was hospitalized in critical condition, and the fans shed tears. It is also mentioned that people take tea to cool, people grow and sigh. Bai Xuelan is hospitalized. Tianjin Garden has signed another contract, and a Tianjin female artist named Lu Furong replaces him. However, the writer did not hold too much prejudice against the lady Lu Furong, and sincerely expressed that she would benefit from listening to it once. Xuan Huaifeng hurriedly read it, smiled faintly, and said, "This kind of newspaper is written in a mess, with unwritten words and incomprehensible words. Who wants you to comment on other people's articles? This person is actually hospitalized with pneumonia. What should you do? You can still sit still, aren't your friends? Your friend is in the hospital, and you don't feel any pain?" When she was unhappy, Zhang Mama came over with a twisted clean towel and asked Xuan Huaifeng to wipe his face. Xuan Dian said to Zhang Mama, "I asked you to deliver medicine to Boss Bai's house last time. What did you do?" Zhang Mama asked in surprise, "Isn't it just delivered?" Xuan Dian said, "Why is he hospitalized? You went to his house, and you didn't know." Zhang Mama pouted and said, "I'm here to deliver things, and the elders came out to pick it up, and the matter is over. Do I still need to catch and ask it? How can I know that he is hospitalized?" Xuan Dian glared at her and said angrily, "Look, you are still talking back." Zhang Mama was even more aggrieved. Xuan Huaifeng hurriedly said, "Sister, don't worry. Although he was hospitalized, he was not in any serious condition. The doctor said that he would rest for a few days, and he would make up his body and slowly heal. Western medicine is very advanced now. This kind of disease can be cured." Xuan Dian asked, "How do you know?" Xuan Huaifeng said, "I went to the hospital to see him." Xuan Dian asked quickly. Xuan Huaifeng had no choice but to talk about meeting Lin Qijun when he went to the hospital and visiting Bai Xuelan in the ward. He recalled the Cold War between himself and Bai Xuelan, and it was because of this, and he was full of unpleasant feelings. "In front of my sister, I can't help but pretend to be calm. And it's really painful." In the end, Xuan Huaifeng said, "He has a lot of friends, and everyone is very helpful. His own sister also accompanies him. I think that although he is weak, it is not impossible for him to be well." In order to sell more newspapers, those reporters put the situation as serious. "Don't worry too much." Xuan Dian frowned and lowered his head for a while, as if he was pondering something, then he forced a smile and said, "Even you said the same thing. Is it? I thought you were always a very considerate child and wouldn't have the same knowledge as those vulgar people. I know that he is an actor, and as I am, I should not be too close. It's just that I think he is really a pitiful person. In terms of background, he is no worse than our brother and sister, but his fate is unfortunate." She paused for a moment. She added in a low voice, looking at him, "I only feel that this life is really unpredictable, and it doesn't make sense. Therefore, I can't help but do my duty as a friend, and take care of those who can take care of them." After speaking, she sighed faintly. "Take a long breath. When Xuan Huaifeng heard these words, his heart seemed to be slammed. He is a person full of worries. Xuan Dian said these words, or there is no other meaning, but the unintentional words, in the ears of people with hearts, evoked all kinds of emotions. This kind of misfortune and good fortune is impermanent, and it makes no sense. It can be used not only in life but also in love. Thinking that before he met Bai Xuelan. How could he be like this for 2 days and 3 ups and downs, when the honey is good, the wind and the rain are bad, the heart, liver, spleen and lungs are like tossing between heaven and hell. And there is no moment of peace. But if you don't get along with each other, why is it that you are so useless, you can't let go all the time? And you want to find something and put a few boxes of bullets to vent your anger? This bandit, hooligan and bully, when he is in love, he becomes obsessed, and when he is cold, he becomes frost. And he will say anything that hurts. That kind of temper that changes face in a moment is really tormenting people. Xuan Huaifeng thought about it. The soul had already flown back to the White Mansion, lowered his head and said nothing, resting his hand on the armrest of the rattan chair. Silently digging the holes in the rattan with his fingernails. Xuan Dian was sad for a while, then came back to her senses. Seeing him like this, she smiled instead, patted him, and asked, "I really don't know what to say to you. You're not happy here. Do something more painful than me. If any lady likes you, she will be really mad at your ignorant temperament. Let's go." She stretched out her hand and motioned for Xuan Huaifeng to help her up. Xuan Huaifeng helped her up and asked, "Go? Where are you going?" Xuan Dian said, "Call the car to prepare. While the weather is good, go to the hospital to see Boss Bai, and you should also relax." Xuan Huaifeng's feet stopped immediately. Distressed. He only visited once on the way last time. And Bai Xuelan could make the ground shake. If he went against the wind again now, wouldn't he set the explosive barrels on fire? It's just. Now, why should he care about Bai Xuelan's attitude? According to what Bai Xuelan said, he would go wherever he fell in love. Seeing him not moving, Xuan Dian asked curiously, "Aren't you willing to go?" Before Xuan Huaifeng could speak, he suddenly heard a voice coming from the window of the main house. "Huh? Isn't that Huaifeng? When will you come over?" He turned to look. Nian Liangfu had just woken up, with more than half of his chest open, and he pulled his shoes out of the room. Xuan Dian said, "Have you woken up yet?" Nian Liangfu said, "Where is waking up from sleep? It's basically a hot wake-up. It's almost August, and it's still so hot, it really doesn't let people live. Zhang ma ma. Rub wet towels, come here. I remember turning on the electric fan before going to bed, and I don't know who turned it off, causing me to sweat all over." Xuan Dian said, "I closed it. Falling asleep with the wind blowing like this makes it easy to get sick." Nian Liangfu frowned and said, "You are not afraid that I will get sick from the heat?" Zhang ma ma hastily twisted a wet towel, "Come over and hand it to Nian Liangfu." Nian Liangfu wiped his face all over. Threw the dirty towel back to Zhang ma ma, sat down on the rattan chair, held the big fan on the small stone platform, and asked, "You guys, what are you doing standing? Don't go back to the house. It's cooler here. What were your brother and sister talking about?" I said, "Huaifeng is here, you should wake me up." "It's a guest anyway." Xuan Huaifeng opened his mouth and declared. Xuan Dian squeezed his back and said, "What kind of guest?" "He's my younger brother. When did he become a guest?" "Are you a brother-in-law out there?" Nian Liangfu apologized and said, "Okay, well, I just woke up, and when I said a word, you ran on 4 or 5 sentences. I said he was a guest. Just a respectful way of saying, what's wrong?" Xuan Dian said, "I don't have time to run on you. I want to go out." Nian Liangfu asked. Where are you going? Xuan Dian gave Xuan Huaifeng a wink and said, You can't control it. You usually go out and report everything to me like this? Why should I want to report to you? Xuan Huaifeng smiled bitterly. Brother-in-law has a woman outside, which is really wrong. But seeing this husband and wife get along with each other, and being a wife doesn't give in at all, it's no wonder that brother-in-law couldn't stay her side. I can only look forward to having a child. After becoming a mother, my sister's temper can be changed. Xuan Dian didn't know what Xuan Huaifeng was thinking, so she asked the servant to order the driver to prepare the car, turned her head and asked Xuan Huaifeng, Are you going to accompany me to relax? Xuan Huaifeng thought of Bai Xuelan's crazy reaction to the lung disease. It was absolutely impossible to agree, and smiled bitterly. I really have something to do. Besides, I have already been there once. Xuan Dian said, It doesn't matter if you don't go. Nian Liangfu lazily shook the fan, leaned on the rattan chair and asked, Madam, where are you going to relax? I'll accompany you. Xuan Dian said, I don't want you to accompany me, you're sweating all over. Wash up quickly. Take a shower. She called to a little girl and said, You prepare a hot bath for my husband, although it's hot right now, he just sweated. So he can't take a cold shower. The little girl answered and hurried off. The driver came and said the car was ready and when to leave. Xuan Dian said, I'll change my clothes and go. After a while of work, she was helped by Zhang Mama, and she went out majestically. Xuan Huaifeng originally wanted to go out the door and go directly back to the White Mansion, but Nian Liangfu said to him, Don't go first. Let's talk. Xuan Huaifeng had to send Xuan Dian to the car, watched her leave in the car, turn back to the yard, and ask Nian Liangfu, What does my brother-in-law want to tell me? Nian Liangfu said, It's nothing important. It was Huaiyin who told me that he would give it to me. When I make a call at the White Mansion, the person who answers the phone always says you're not there. Why are you so busy? He seems to be looking for you, but he can't find it. If I see you, I'll tell you and give him a call. Xuan Huaifeng thought to himself that it was mostly Bai Xuelan's idea when the mansion answered the phone and said he was not there. Since the conflict between the Lotus Appreciation Party and the military commander Xuan, Bai Xuelan hated even Xuan Huaiyin. Thinking that he instructed the housekeeper not to help Xuan Huaiyin to spread the word, and to cut off the connection between their brothers. This tyrant, but if the tyrant is still a tyrant, that's better. As it is now, the entire cold-faced Hades, the Cold War generals, are truly heart-wrenching. Xuan Huaifeng thought about this in his heart, but he said, I'm really busy recently, and I often go out to do errands. Since that's the case, I'll borrow my brother-in-law's place to call my third brother. He went to the telephone room and dialed the number, reported his name, and said that he was looking for Adjutant Xuan Huaiyin. The person on the phone said, Please wait a moment, Adjutant Xuan is here. After a while, someone on the opposite side picked up the receiver and said, Second brother. You are really hard to find. Xuan Huaifeng said, I'm sorry, there's been a lot of things these days. How's Xiao Feiyan's business going? Xuan Huaiyin said, It's been done a long time ago. But I can't find you anywhere. That White Mansion of yours and the general manager of customs. The bureau is stricter than a prison. I called and said you weren't there. I just said that you ignored me on purpose. Xuan Huaifeng could only say he was sorry. Xuan Huaiyin said, I have already asked the prospective commander, and I will find a buyer for Xiao Feiyan. I will be able to bring the person out to you in the next 2 days. However, second brother, I am hiding the person from the commander and let the commander give it to you. Knowing that I was helping you, he had to skin me. There are many people in the city, and for insurance, we met outside the city. Do you think it's okay? Xuan Huaifeng asked. Yes, yes. Where can we meet outside? The two discussed the time and place to meet outside the city, and hung up the phone. Back in the yard, I had another conversation with Nian Liangfu. But Xuan Huaifeng and this brother-in-law have completely different interests. When Nian Liangfu opened his mouth, he was talking about popular actors and popular foreign poker cards. He could also see that he was impatient and indifferent. He changed the subject and asked, "Are there any rumors about the change of office from your side? Is he talking about the change of the head of the customs office?" Nian Liangfu said, "Of course. What else are we going to do with other changes? Only if the immediate boss changes, we will be in trouble. Alas, now that the Republic of China government is over, it's just a lot. It used to say that the chief wants to be elected and change the term of office. Now it's better. When you get excited, you can change everything. I don't know which rules have been set. We are a family, so please don't hide from your brother-in-law. Look, is Chief Bai safe or not?" Xuan Huaifeng was a little surprised. He now has a clear love and hate towards Bai Xuelan. Hate. Of course hate it. Love and still love it. So, worry about it. Xuan Huaifeng pondered, it should always be safe. Since the chief took office, he has done a lot of practical things, which is beneficial to the country and the people. The visionary Chinese should see his benefits. Besides, the Prime Minister has always been supportive, the chief does things. Nian Liangfu said. Yes, our chief is a very strong backer. He sighed and looked very envious, and said, as the saying goes, there are people in the court who are good officials. You look. Just copying the Da Xin Yangxing incident, he replaced it with someone else, and he have been dismissed for 800 years. Chief Bai has strong roots. And now he is still sitting firmly in his seat. Xuan Huaifeng was shocked and blurted out asking, copy Da Xin Yangxing trade? When did you copy Da Xin Yangxing trade? Nian Liangfu said. It was copied a while ago, you don't know? It's strange, how could you not know? It's a pity that you still live in the chief's mansion. I don't believe it. You are less informed than we are? Xuan Huaifeng was still stunned, and did not answer for a while. Nian Liangfu looked at him lost, patted him on the shoulder, and said with a smile, okay. What's the big deal? If you panic like this, it's not copying your property. He looked at Xuan Huaifeng and remembered something. He thought he had a sudden realization, and said, I understand. Lin Qijun from Da Xin Yangxing Trade Company, Limited is also an acquaintance with you. It turns out that this is what you are anxious about. You can rest assured that this is a copy of Da Xin Yangxing Trade Company, Limited. It's a big joke. It turns out that Da Xin Yangxing Trade Company, Limited has foreign equity participation. And it is protected by the Foreign General Chamber of Commerce in China. It's amazing. I heard that even the British ambassador was angry and protested to the Prime Minister. Our chief has always been shrewd, and we don't know what to do. Yes, he suffered a big dumb loss this time. This incident made the General Administration of Customs lose face. And naturally it was not mentioned in the documents, but because the matter was so big, the staff knew it privately, and there was a lot of discussion. Xuan Huaifeng is one of the few friends with colleagues. He has been staying in the adjutant's office. The closest colleague is adjutant's son, but adjutant's son is knowledgeable. No one else would bring this up to him for no reason. Therefore, Xuan Huaifeng didn't see it on the official document. And the colleague who didn't have fornication information actually caused the consequences that he didn't know about. Xuan Huaifeng asked, what's going on? Nian Liangfu said, it's long gone. What's the use of asking now? Xuan Huaifeng said, Brother-in-law, just put what you know. Just tell me. It's rare for Nian Liangfu to be asked about this by Xuan Huaifeng. But he is a little proud. He tells everything he has heard, and Xuan Huaifeng asks for details. The document Lin Qijun showed above, he couldn't tell what was written. He shook the big fan and said, I didn't do it, how would I know? If you really want to ask, why don't you ask that adjutant's son? Aren't you acquaintances? He was the one who went to copy Daxin Yangxing Trade Company, Limited. And it turned out to be a gray one. Xuan Huaifeng couldn't sit still any longer when he heard this, and stood up to say goodbye to Nian Liangfu. I went to call Song Ren, who was waiting at the gate. Got into the car, and instructed the driver, go to the General Administration of Customs. At the General Administration of Customs, the door to the adjutant's office was locked. When he asked, he replied, Adjutant's son went out to run errands today, and he didn't say what time he would be back. Xuan Huaifeng asked, did you raid Daxin Yangxing a while ago? Because the department director had documents sent to the office of the adjutant Chang, he had received it from the adjutant's son before. Intentionally or unintentionally reminded that Daxin Yangxing's affairs are rarely premised in the presence of adjutant Zan. At this time, when Xuan Huaifeng asked directly, he was very embarrassed. He hesitated and said, I don't know about this matter. Xuan Huaifeng said, no. It doesn't matter, since it's on official business. There can't be documents without records. You find the documents and I'll take a look. The head of the department stood, smiling apologetically, and said, it's going to be a while. I'm afraid it won't be easy to find. Xuan Huaifeng said, you just look for it, I'll stand here and wait. However, let me explain first that you are in charge of these things. And this is also your responsibility. I'm not very good at talking about the performance of the various departments. His face sank, his black eyes staring at people. But there was a bit of intimidating majesty. Hearing this serious threat, the director didn't dare to delay. He hurriedly went in and searched for a while, took out a paper file bag, and said with a mocking smile, look, that's really the only thing I can find. I can find it for you. I've found them all. He looked around quietly, and then whispered, Adjutant Sun said. The chief's meaning, this matter is not allowed to be mentioned by the subordinates. You can look at it, but don't say that I found it for you. Xuan Huaifeng said. Don't worry. After picking up the items, he returned to the adjutant's office and sat down. There were not many things in the document bag, just a few pieces of thin official paper. And hastily recorded the results of the friendship investigation of a trip to Daxin Yangxing, and attached a copy of the relevant contract presented by Daxin Yangxing Xiaodong Lin Qijun. Xuan Huaifeng didn't care about the formulaic file, but picked up another detailed evidence table and read it carefully. I saw that it said, after investigation. It is indeed a certificate and an official letter issued by the Foreign General Chamber of Commerce in China. When he saw the date, his eyelids trembled. Isn't this day the same day that I happened to meet Lin Qijun in the hospital? Xuan Huaifeng hurriedly took out the registration form of the shareholding contract and looked at it. Leaving nothing else, just looking for the date on it. When he saw it, he was shocked. It seems to be July 24th again. There is no such thing as coincidence. Even if it happened to be the day when the equity participation contract was signed. How could the certificate and official letter of the Foreign General Chamber of Commerce in China be obtained on the same day? The efficiency of those officials has always been known to everyone. He thought about it for a while, thinking about Bai Xuelan's big temper this time, and felt more and more inappropriate, and actually faintly panicked. Gathered the documents together, put them in a folder, took them to the car, knocked on the car window and said, "Go back to the White Mansion." As if a cat's paws were scratching, he was extremely impatient and asked the driver, "Why are you driving so slowly?" The driver named Xiao Li looked at the rear mirror of the car and said, "Adjutant Zan, a car is driving right next to us. In front, there is a different road in this alley, and the road is narrow, so you can't cross it." Xuan Huaifeng asked, "Which car does the car in front of?" "The image on the back is Adjutant's son." Xuan Huaifeng peeked through the windshield of the car in front of him. Squinting, it was a bit like. Two cars arrived in front of the white mansion one after the other, and a person got out of the car in front. It turned out to be Adjutant's son, wearing a gray suit with a foreign briefcase in his hand. Xuan Huaifeng got out of the car, called to him and said, "Adjutant's son, wait a moment." Adjutant's son stopped, waited for him to come over, and said with a smile, "I knew there was a car behind, I guess it was you. I heard that you stayed at Nian's house, and I wanted to ask you to say hello to Sister Ling on your behalf." Xuan Huaifeng took a step closer and whispered, "There is something I want to ask for advice, and I will go in and talk about it." Adjutant's son was slightly surprised and said, "Good." The two entered the mansion together and went to Adjutant's son's room. Adjutant's son was treated well in the White Mansion. There was a small study next to the bedroom, and they sat down in the small study. Adjutant's son asked, "What's the matter?" Xuan Huaifeng took out the document bag under his arm and handed it to him. When Adjutant's son opened it, he understood a bit and asked thoughtfully, "Who gave you these things?" Xuan Huaifeng said, "You don't need to ask who gave it to me. I was originally an expert on this matter. If you don't know anything, if you know it today, you can't help but come and ask for some advice." Adjutant's son smiled and said, "It's not that complicated at first. Since you have read these documents, you can understand the general passage." "Why did you ask for advice?" Xuan Huaifeng said slowly, "Adjutant's son, you're doing things for the country, and you should work together. Don't be afraid to say something offensive. You shouldn't perfunctory me like this." This solemn and blunt statement has a very bright and upright style. Xuan Huaifeng looked at Adjutant's son, his dark pupils shone with lightning and flint. Adjutant's son admired Xuan Huaifeng's seriousness, and was too embarrassed to follow his established smooth line, so he said, "Da Xin Yangxing, the chief has made up his mind to do it. On that day, I was ordered to do so. In the past inspections, I wanted to catch the other party by surprise, but I was beaten upside down. It was my incompetence. And the chief was also implicated." Then he went to Da Xin Yangxing on July 24 and recounted it carefully. He is a party, and naturally he speaks 10 times more clearly than hearsay. After he finished speaking, he added, "This matter is really strange." Seeing what Lin Qijun meant, he was clearly ready, so he was waiting for us to do it. He threw out the official letter from the Foreign Chamber of Commerce in the middle of the way, so that we could not step down. He is very smart, with the help of foreigners. It embarrassed the General Administration of Customs for a while. It's just that we handled this matter very carefully. Why did he not know what to do? As he said. He glanced at Xuan Huaifeng lightly. Xuan Huaifeng frowned and said, "What's the chief's opinion?" Adjutant's son said, "The chief did not say anything. However, the chief has been very unhappy these days and everyone knows it. Because of this incident, he was arrested. The Prime Minister summoned him and scolded him for a long time. It is said that there is still a newspaper to make a big report, and a topic is also made up, saying that the customs oppress the business, and the international friends are outraged. Fortunately, the Prime Minister knew about it before the publication, and the Prime Minister personally made a phone call to the newspaper. Editor-in-Chief, please cancel this manuscript. Otherwise, we will make another big scandal at customs." Xuan Huaifeng's face was extremely ugly. He listened silently, and then he said in a low voice, "You were suspicious just now. You said how Lin Qijun didn't know the prophet. I'm very puzzled about this. To tell you the truth, I happened to meet Lin Qijun in the hospital the day before the accident. But Lin Qijun signed a contract with a foreign businessman on the same day, and obtained an official letter from the Foreign Chamber of Commerce. However, although I had a few words with him, I never mentioned that the customs had dealt with Daxin Yangxing Trade Company, Limited. The move." Before he finished speaking, Adjutant Sun waved his hand and asked him to stop. Xuan Huaifeng asked, "What, even you don't believe me? Even I myself don't know that you are going to Daxin Yangxing the next day. How can I leak it?" Adjutant Sun said, "Of course, I trust you. However, what's the use of me explaining? I'm not your boss, so how can I ask you to explain? It's you who explained it to me on purpose. As if I accused you of leaking something. You say, isn't it a bit wronged?" Xuan Huaifeng only smiled bitterly after hearing this. Adjutant Sun said, "Don't take it too seriously. Office affairs are always unsatisfactory, and it is impossible to do everything perfectly every time." He smiled and whispered again, "Adjutant Zahn, don't blame me for being shallow. Eyesight. You still have the stubbornness of a mathematician in your mind. Most of the things in the world are vague, and you can really figure out a numerical answer of 6, 7, 8, 9 if you don't solve mathematical formulas. In my opinion, you don't have to pay attention to who leaked the news of Daxin Yangxing, and whether the leaker was intentional or unintentional. The matter has passed. On the side of the chief, please be considerate. The temper of the chief." Adjutant Sun paused, considered for a moment, and then said, "The chief's temper. I'm not too good to say. But I know that sometimes you will be wronged." Xuan Huaifeng stood for a while. He said, "I know."